Jimmy Haslam didn't just send a message, he sent a directive. According to internal reports, the Browns owner made it clear to Kevin Stefanski that Shedeur Sanders must be part of the next game plan. The push came after a 31-6 rout of Miami, where Sanders remained benched despite the blowout. While Stefanski claimed it was about respecting Dillon Gabriel and avoiding distraction.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
The truth cuts deeper. Haslam's move exposed how much of the Browns' internal power resides above the coaching staff. It's no longer about merit or locker room dynamics. It's about who ultimately controls the future of the franchise and how far they'll go to protect the brand. This Patriots matchup isn't just another Sunday. It's a defining test of who leads the Browns, and on what terms. If Sanders finally steps onto the field, it won't just signal a quarterback change, it will mark a turning point in how the organization confronts pressure, both from within and without. If he doesn't, the silence will say even more. Either way, the choice ahead is no longer tactical, it's institutional. The Browns beat the Dolphins by 25. A dominant win. A statement win. But nobody's talking about the score. Nobody's talking about the defense or the playoff implications or how the team executed on both sides of the ball. The only thing anyone wants to know is why Shedeur Sanders was glued to the bench while the stadium begged for him. And now we know. Jimmy Haslam reportedly stepped in, pressured Kevin Stefanski, forced the issue. And the moment Stefanski admitted Sanders will be in the mix against the Patriots, that's when the story changed. This isn't just about a quarterback anymore. It's about power, perception, and a franchise that's completely lost its grip on its own narrative. Let's get one thing straight. This isn't normal. This isn't how teams with a 31-6 win should feel. The Browns should be coasting into New England with confidence, riding the momentum of a statement game. But instead, they're navigating a storm of their own creation, trying to figure out whether to cave to the pressure or pretend it's not there. The decision not to play Sanders in a blowout wasn't just conservative, it was calculated. The coaching staff didn't want the drama. They didn't want the headlines. They didn't want the "what now?" questions. So they left their most buzzed-about player on the sideline and hoped the scoreboard would shut everyone up. It didn't. If anything, it made the questions louder. Louder from the fans. Louder from the media. Louder from inside the building. Because when you have a rookie quarterback with star power, pedigree, and the kind of media gravity Shedeur brings, every game he doesn't play becomes a bigger deal than the ones he does. And the Browns? They've made it worse with every decision. They're not afraid of what Sanders might do on the field. They're afraid of what comes next. They're afraid of the circus. The cameras. The headlines. The distraction. The inevitable questions about Dion. About marketing. About legacy. And most of all about why he's not already the guy. So they delayed. They tried to manage the story. They tried to spin respect for Dillon Gabriel as leadership. But the more they talked, the less anyone believed them. Because this wasn't about respect. It was about control. About trying to prevent a moment that everyone knows is coming anyway. And now, with Haslam stepping in, it's official. The Browns no longer control the moment. The quarterback decision isn't coming from the sideline, it's coming from the top. Haslam wants Sanders in. That much is clear. And when an NFL owner starts making football decisions, it's not just a red flag, it's a warning sign. It means the chain of command is broken. It means the coach is being undercut. And it means the locker room is now watching every move through a different lens. Because players know when leadership is fractured. They know when decisions are being made for PR instead of performance. And they know when a coach has lost his grip. That's what's happening in Cleveland right now. Kevin Stefanski is stuck. If he starts Sanders, it looks like he gave in. If he doesn't, it looks like he's defying his boss. There's no good option. No clean way out. Just pressure, noise, and the creeping realization that the team's most important decision was just hijacked by ownership. Let's be honest. This isn't just about Haslam. This is about a franchise that's been chasing stability for years, finally getting close to it, and then panicking the second things got complicated. Because integrating Shedeur Sanders isn't just a depth chart adjustment. It's a rebrand. It's a shift in identity. And the Browns aren't ready for it. They thought they could keep the hype under control. That if they managed his development quietly and carefully, they could avoid the media frenzy. But this is 2025. There's no quiet anymore. Not when your backup quarterback trends on social media more than your starter. Not when fans chant his name during a blowout. Not when your owner is actively pressuring the coaching staff to play him. The Sanders situation was never going to stay in the background. And now, it's front and center. Stefanski says Sanders will play. But nobody believes it's part of a calm, structured plan. Everyone knows it's a forced move. A response to noise, not performance. And here's the problem. The second Sanders steps on that field, there's no going back. If he plays well, he's the guy. If he struggles, the backlash will hit everyone. Haslam, Stefanski, the front office. That's the weight they've put on this debut. That's the risk they've built up with weeks of indecision. They could have managed this. They could have eased him in during the Miami game and shifted the spotlight gradually. But they didn't. They let the moment grow. Let the pressure build. And now, every pass Sanders throws will be a referendum on the entire organization. There's no subtle transition anymore. No low-stakes environment. No easing into the role. The Browns turned this into a spectacle. And now they have to live with it. What's wild is that this isn't even about Gabriel versus Sanders anymore. It's about a franchise trying to micromanage a cultural moment in real time. Trying to protect its image while its foundation starts to crack. Because if the Browns lose to the Patriots and Sanders doesn't play, the backlash will be brutal. If Sanders plays and the offense stalls, it'll be seen as a failed gamble. And if he plays and the team wins, the entire quarterback room gets rewritten overnight. Gabriel becomes an afterthought. Stefanski's credibility gets questioned for not making the change sooner. And Haslam? He becomes the unofficial GM. None of these are good outcomes. They're all chaos. And the Browns put themselves here. They spent weeks prioritizing perception over progress. And now, they're stuck in a story they can't control. Every decision moving forward will feel reactive. Every move will be second-guessed. Because the Browns didn't lead, they waited. And now they're chasing. You can't stall momentum forever. You can't bench buzz. And you can't control a storm once it's already overhead. So what happens now? The Patriots game will be a pressure cooker. Every offensive series, every sideline camera shot, every crowd reaction will be dissected. If Sanders doesn't see the field, it will look like cowardice. If he does, it will look like desperation. The Browns box themselves in. This isn't just about quarterback depth. It's about identity, leadership, who really runs the Browns, and what kind of team they want to be. Let us know what you think. Should Stefanski have played Sanders during the blowout? Has Haslam helped or hurt the team with his reported intervention? And is this situation still salvageable, or is it already spiraling too far? Like this if you're watching this circus unfold in real time. Drop a comment with your take on the QB dilemma. And subscribe if you want more deep dives into the NFL's most unhinged storylines. Because no matter what happens in New England this weekend, one thing's for sure. Cleveland is no longer playing quarterback. They're playing damage control. After that 31-6 win over Miami, they had a chance to steer the narrative. They could have taken the heat off the quarterback room, quieted the fan noise, and regained some semblance of structure within the organization. All it would have taken was putting Shedeur Sanders in for a few snaps. Nothing dramatic, nothing flashy. Just a couple of drives to acknowledge the obvious. But they didn't. And now, here we are. The fans are furious. The media is circling. The owner is stepping in. And the Browns have lost the one thing you absolutely cannot lose when your franchise is under a microscope: the perception of unity. This isn't about Dylan Gabriel's performance anymore. This isn't about whether Shedeur is ready in the classic coach-speak sense. This is about a franchise openly admitting it's afraid of what comes next and hoping to postpone the inevitable by doing nothing at all. The Browns didn't just delay a quarterback decision. They delayed a cultural shift. And now, that shift is happening with or without their blessing. Because Jimmy Haslam reportedly made the move. Not suggested it. Made it. Pressured Kevin Stefanski to play Sanders against the Patriots. That's not coaching anymore. That's a top-down override. A complete breakdown of the football hierarchy. It's not just controversial. It's dangerous. When ownership starts handing out playtime assignments, you can throw your leadership structure out the window. What does that say to the coaching staff? To the players? To the locker room leaders who've been trying to keep things tight behind the scenes? If Stefanski doesn't have the authority to decide who plays when, then what exactly is his role? And yet here's the twisted part. Haslam's not wrong. He's impatient, sure. Invasive, absolutely. But in his eyes, he's protecting an investment. And let's be real, Shedeur Sanders is a massive investment. Not just on the field, but off it. Jersey sales, national attention, branding. The kind of spotlight this team hasn't seen in years. You don't acquire a player like that and treat him like a third-string ghost. Not in today's NFL. So Haslam forces the issue. And Stefanski? Now he's got two choices. Play Sanders and look like he's been strong-armed by ownership, or keep Gabriel under center and look like he's dragging his feet on progress. Either way, he loses control. And when a head coach loses control, everything else follows. The locker room fractures. The offense gets tense. Every single moment of the next game becomes a referendum on leadership. Every throw Gabriel makes is measured against what Sanders could have done. Every time Sanders appears on screen, every single time, people are asking, is now the moment? That's not a healthy team environment. That's a pressure cooker. And that Patriots game? It's no longer just a football game. It's a judgment day. Because if the Browns look even remotely shaky, if they fall behind early, if the offense sputters, if Gabriel throws one pick, the whole thing blows up. The fans will start booing. The chants will start again. And Stefanski won't just be criticized. He'll be openly questioned by the same people who were patting him on the back a week ago. All because he didn't make the obvious move when he had the perfect opportunity. Let's go back to that for a second. That Dolphins game wasn't close. The Browns were in full control. There was zero risk. It was the safest environment possible to get Sanders some reps, to get the pressure valve to release just a little. Let him play. Let the fans cheer. Let the media write the piece and move on. But no, they chose fear. They were so afraid of igniting a quarterback controversy that they accidentally created the biggest quarterback controversy in the league right now. Not because Sanders has said anything. Not because Gabriel's fallen apart. But because of the silence. The stalling. The complete refusal to acknowledge what everyone else already sees coming. And that's what makes this different from a normal QB dilemma. This isn't about who's better. It's about why the Browns are acting like this decision is radioactive. Why they're treating Shedeur Sanders like a grenade instead of a quarterback. The Browns are clearly afraid of two things. One, that Sanders might not be ready, and two, that he is. Because if he isn't ready and they play him, they'll get cooked for rushing him. The media backlash will be immediate. They'll get mocked for caving to pressure, for listening to Haslam, for not having a long-term plan. But if he is ready, then the whole organization has to answer for why they waited so long. Why they resisted what now looks obvious. Why they ignored the fans. Why they refused to give him reps in the easiest situation imaginable. It's lose-lose. And they put themselves here. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders has handled the situation with more composure than most of the adults in the building. No public grumbling. No cryptic tweets. Just quiet focus. He's sitting through the noise. Waiting. Watching. And when his number gets called, because it will get called, he's walking into one of the most loaded moments in recent Browns history. Not because he asked for it, but because they waited too long. The moment Sanders steps on the field, everything changes. The locker room will shift. The media attention will skyrocket. The play calling will be dissected. Every snap will matter. Every drive will be legacy-defining. And all because the Browns chose to delay instead of prepare. That's what stings the most here. This didn't have to be a circus. This didn't have to be the biggest story in the NFL right now. They could have managed it. Phased it in. Controlled the tempo. But they let the moment pass. They let the fear win. And now they've got no choice but to dive headfirst into the chaos. This isn't just about the Patriots. This is about whether this team can actually handle what comes next. Whether Stefanski can keep the locker room. Whether Haslam can resist turning the franchise into a marketing machine. Whether Sanders can step into a storm and actually stabilize it. There's no more runway. No more soft landings. The Browns have delayed the inevitable, and now the inevitable is going to hit them with full force. Here's the thing. We're still pretending like this is just a football decision. As if the Browns are sitting in meeting rooms, calmly weighing matchups and film study, casually discussing reps and packages like this isn't a full-blown organizational identity crisis playing out in front of the entire league. The game against the Patriots was supposed to be just another step in a promising season. Instead, it's a showdown with the weight of a franchise on its back. Not because of the opponent. Not because of playoff implications. But because the Browns chose to manufacture a storyline out of silence. They kept Shedeur Sanders off the field when the moment was gift-wrapped. A blowout. At home. With fans chanting his name. With the team cruising. That was the time. That was the window to control the conversation. But the Browns didn't take it. Instead, they let the pressure build until Jimmy Haslam had to intervene. Let that sink in. The owner had to step in and force the head coach to acknowledge what the rest of the football world had already figured out. This team can't keep pretending Shedeur Sanders doesn't exist. That's not development. That's delusion. You don't bring in a quarterback with his profile, with his media presence, with his name, and expect to keep him on ice while the city turns inside out. Not when he's your backup and the games are being decided by 3 touchdowns. Not when every camera in the building is pointed at the sideline, waiting for the kid with the golden arm and the billion-dollar surname to get just one snap. The Browns weren't shielding Sanders. They were shielding themselves. From the inevitable comparisons. From the locker room chatter. From the post-game narratives. From the moment it would stop being, what if, and start being, what now? And now, they've run out of places to hide. Kevin Stefanski can talk about structure and respect all he wants, but when the guy in the owner's suite is reportedly forcing your hand, that structure is gone. That respect is compromised. That chain of command? Fractured. It's hard enough to coach in the NFL. But coaching when your boss is calling plays from 30 floors up? That's how you lose teams. That's how you lose jobs. And to be clear, Haslam didn't do this because he's obsessed with football purity. He didn't force Stefanski's hand because he's grinding tape at 2 a.m. and finding holes in Gabriel's footwork. He did it because Shedeur Sanders is business. And in this league, when business and football collide, football usually loses. Gabriel is solid, efficient, but he's not Buzz. Shedeur Sanders is. The headlines, the clips, the brand, they all orbit around him, whether he's played a snap or not. And Haslam sees that. He's not just thinking about wins. He's thinking about market share, primetime coverage, national relevancy. So now Stefanski's stuck. Play Sanders and it looks like you were dragged into it. Don't play him and it looks like you're actively defying ownership. No matter what he chooses, his authority is already compromised. And the locker room sees it. That's the most dangerous part. Because once players start wondering who's really in charge, they start picking sides. Some back the coach. Some nod toward ownership. Some just want the drama to end. And that division, even unspoken, is poison. You can't win with a split locker room, and you definitely can't survive a quarterback change when no one knows who's steering the ship. The Patriots game is now a referendum. Not on talent. Not even on quarterback play. It's a referendum on leadership. If Sanders plays and sparks the offense, Stefanski gets buried in second-guessing. If he doesn't, and they lose or look flat, the fans revolt. The media floods the post-game with questions. And Haslam? He leans in even harder. This isn't a plan. This is a slow-motion car crash. And the craziest part? This didn't have to happen. Not like this. The Browns had a clean way to introduce Sanders. Get him some reps. Let him get his feet wet. Show the fans they hear them without handing over the keys just yet. But instead of managing the moment, they ignored it. And now the moment is managing them. Every minute Shedeur spends on the sideline with a helmet on but not playing is another minute that this franchise looks like it's operating from a place of fear. Not caution, fear. Fear of the media. Fear of the spotlight. Fear of the backlash. Fear of losing control. But the truth is, they already lost it. They lost it the moment Stefanski said he wouldn't play Sanders out of respect for Gabriel. They lost it the moment the fans started chanting his name louder than the final score. They lost it when Haslam had to make a call that never should have reached his desk. And now? Now they're not choosing between two quarterbacks. They're choosing between two realities. One where they finally accept that Sanders is the moment. That he's not just a backup, he's the next chapter, whether they planned it that way or not. Or the other, where they keep pretending this can be contained. That Gabriel can be protected. That Haslam can stay in his lane. That the fans will wait quietly. We know which one it's going to be. Because it's already happening. So now we wait. Not to see if Shedeur Sanders will play, we know he will. We're waiting to see how. Will it be desperation? Or decisiveness? Will it be because the team finally leans into the future? Or because they ran out of ways to stall? Because that choice, how he debuts, is going to say more about this franchise than any box score ever could. Let us know what you think. Did the Browns make a mistake by delaying the inevitable? Was Haslam out of line, or did he simply do what needed to be done? And when Shedeur finally takes the field, do you believe he holds onto that spot? Drop your comments below. Hit like if you're watching this saga unfold one awkward press conference at a time, and subscribe if you want more deep dives into the absolute chaos of modern sports leadership. Because this isn't just a quarterback change. It's a franchise, once again, standing at a crossroads, and trying to act like it's just another Sunday.